the time you read this, it will be the year 2030. A year in which all people have equal opportunities, access to food, clean water and energy. We are all healthy and thousands of species on our planet are saved from extinction. That is what some grown-ups say. But today, almost 10 years apart, I wonder how we can accomplish that. My mom says there is a good chance to make it happen. If we all learn how to take the green path to a more sustainable way of living. If we embrace the know-how of experts, students, teachers, and society, and we connect it to real people's needs. If we mix disciplines, people, and ideas, we design technology and combine resources to solve challenges with love and creativity. If people go beyond borders to learn and work in cooperation with others, celebrating diversity and inclusiveness. My mom is a scientist and says
all these transformations have started, and I want to be part of it. That is why I will study to become an engineer in 2030. An EELISA engineer.
Good morning. On behalf of our rector, Professor Guillermo Cisneros, and all our UPM community, the EELISA Alliance sends our support and condolences to our Turkish colleagues and also all Turkish citizens in these extremely difficult and devastating circumstances. Our love and respect to those that lost their lives, our wish for a speedy recovery to the injured, to those who have lost their families, relatives, and friends. We come together for a minute of silence to show our respect for their memories. In this moment of stillness, let us offer our thoughts and prayers to their loved ones and families who are grieving. Okay, so let's start today. So we will have first a welcome from the school. Encarnación, please.
Thank you. Welcome to this school, School of Civil Engineering. In the name of José Miguel Atienza, dean of this school, welcome to all of you. We are very happy to receive this initiative that we think is very important to think and to debate about the women in the science, because it's a subject that is very important, especially focused on the maternity in the time, because it's especially difficult to be mother and a scientist or an engineer. Even I think in my experience is especially difficult to be mother and to have the time of to receive be a good in research and a good professor is impossible. In our point of view, it's impossible to reach all these things. So, in the name of this school, thank you very much to debate about this subject, and welcome to our school. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Encarnación. Okay, so welcome again to UPM. I would like to thank all participants for their attendance and also thank our panelists and moderator for their participation. It is an honor sharing this important day with the representatives from all EELISA institutions. Thank you for traveling to Madrid, and also a warm welcome to online audience. So many of you probably know that EELISA is, but some new attendants may not know, EELISA is an alliance of 10 universities coming from 8 countries. Italy with the Scuola Normale Superiore and Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna. Germany with Friedrich Alexander Universität, Erlanger Nürnberg. Romania, Polytechnica University of Bucharest. Hungary, Budapest University of Technology and Economics. Turkey, Istanbul Technical University, and Spain with UPM. And since some week ago, January 23rd, we are very happy to have a new full partner from Switzerland, the Zurich University of Applied Sciences, who we would like to welcome to this meeting and to the Alliance. Indeed, 3 years ago, the European Commission Cooperation and Integration in the Higher Education, I just moved the line. 3 years ago, the European Commission selected our universities under the Erasmus Plus program to come together and test new models of cooperation and integration in the higher education field, with the aim of going beyond Erasmus mobilities and test deeper degrees of integration. In addition to the education part, we are also testing new ways of cooperation in the research and innovation field under the EELISA InnoCore project that was funded by the Horizon Europe, and also in entrepreneurship under EELISA Unfolds, a project funded by AIT Digital. We are here today to commemorate the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, 11th February, a key day for science and for universities. Indeed, women do excel in science in all domains, and we see women being duly and equally recognized, but sometimes the work done by women are difficult in many spheres, not only in science and technology and university, but also in professional lives, when all of us, many women, goes into work into companies. So maternity is not a matter only of science and technology and university. It's also a matter of being a woman in a professional life. Many of you know I'm a mother of 3 kids. At this moment, they are in the 20s. It was difficult with the first, and when you are looking for the second, and suddenly you get 3, it's even though more difficult, because having twins is not having 2 plus 1. It's another stuff. So, but I think that the travels and the situation that any women get are the same, independently of whether the professional career is at the university or it is in a company or in the public sector. In my case, research is my life, my family too, and for me, I mean, I found the way with an important additional effort in order to be a scientist and being between the 2% of the women, 2% of researchers listed in the Stanford University ranking. So it requires more effort, an additional effort, which is, and also the support from the family. But at the end, this is a matter of gender, because it is not only a matter of kids, it's also, having kids is also, under my view, a situation that affects men and women, also for taking care of parents and kids. Okay. So now we are going to go into the round table. The moderator is Inés Sánchez de Madariaga. She's full professor at Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. She is the UNESCO Chair of Gender in SGI, Professor of Urban Planning at our university, and Chair of the Advisory Group of Gender Issues to the Executive Director of United Nations Habitat. So please, Inés, so you will be the moderator, and please go ahead with the panel.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Asun. Thank you, Asun. Más alto. Okay. I will raise my voice, no problem. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Vice Rector. I would like to invite our distinguished guests to this panel. Would you like to sit, to take your chairs, please? Thank you. Good morning and welcome to Madrid. Welcome to our university, the Technical University of Madrid, and this wonderful school of engineering, civil works engineering. That's the proper English translation, I think. So very nice to see you all. Thank you for having traveled and being here with us. We're going to speak in this panel on what are the challenges for women and for gender equality of having kids, of maternity. I remember when I started working on this topic of gender equality in STEM about 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, and particularly some 12 years ago, there was a very important report by the National Academy of Sciences of the United States. It was called Bias and Barriers. Bias and Barriers. And in this report, there were like 2 big blocks of issues that need to be addressed for gender equality in research careers, and those bias and barriers that gave title to this report, they refer to biases in the evaluation of merit, and also biases as to what's the stereotype that certain academic fields and research fields attach to men and women, such as how does a scientist or an engineer look like, which most often is not like many of you look like with your nice hairdresses and so on, but more like a typical, sometimes freaky, but certainly mostly male stereotyping and images. But then the other big part of the picture related to barriers among which maternity is a key one.
When I reached Sant'Anna School, because I started a new kind of job that I really enjoyed. The third one is my daughter. The discovery of myself as a parent and the world last-minute changes in our plans, or arriving late at work, working from home. All of this is working. I cannot imagine another environment where it would work in the same way. But what is not working, and it's more difficult to come up with a solution, is the precarious nature of our job between our PhD and a more stable position. The postdoc phase with the short contracts, often in different countries, and many times with two partners far away. When you add the child to this equation, things become very non-linear.
I had my daughter in the last step of my career, so I could not interrupt my activities because I already have a team that could continue my research project. What is not working, in my opinion, is that for me it's very hard to find a place where I leave my daughter when I have a business appointment. Every work institution should have a kid garden where you. This is what I feel that is missing in my experience.
Ideally, from such a panel, I would expect coming up with some ideas of how we can alleviate these problems.
The possibility to have a longer maternity leave, because 4 months is very short time for the baby, for leave the baby.
Well, very nice video. We have seen from these testimonies from Antonella and Evangelina what are the pros and cons, some of the pros and cons of a research career for women in the period of their lives when it's the time to have kids. So some pros or some advantages of a working environment in science and research is the flexibility, which other office jobs don't give you. Also, the fact that you work in teams, and when you are not around, other people might support or substitute you at some point. There's some flexibility also there, that you can get support from your colleagues because of the fact of working in teams. But we also saw quite a few cons. The first one is the issue of mobility. Research careers demand a lot in terms of mobility, and mobility which has lots of implications, some of which have not been mentioned here. In terms, I remember a few years ago in the European Commission, some meetings of people addressing the policies for homogenizing the mobility of researchers and the complexities in terms of legal issues, pension issues, etc. A very complex issue at the European level for researchers. And it's so mobility in terms of going to conferences, stays of a few months or a few years, contracts of a couple of years, maybe at some other university, some other country with all the difficulties. And this is coupled up with the fact that many researchers their couples are also in research. So careers tend to separate at this stage in the professional life, at the, when people are at the age of stabilizing work. Precariousness was mentioned by Antonella. Precariousness lasts a lot in a scientific career, and how all these things can be managed, and in personal terms. So we're going to work in our panel today first in pairs. I'm going to raise like a few questions in pairs to we have 6 persons that are part of the panel. One of them, unfortunately, our colleague from Istanbul Technical University is not here, but I'm going to raise the points that he mentioned in the preparatory meetings for this panel. So we're going first to address these issues in pairs. Then we are going to have a discussion, the 5 people who are here, and then we will give some opportunity for the audience, both in person and online, to raise questions or raise some short comments at the end. 15 minutes for this question and answer open part of the panel at the end. So I'm going to start with the first pairs of our speakers today to address this issue of mostly mobility. What are the implications of mobility in careers in research and in engineering, particularly? What is the price of keeping up with a professional research career, of consolidating it at the time in which it's also the time to have kids, and when you decide to raise a family, and also you want to keep up and you strive to be first or the best possible in your careers. So how do you manage all these things? How do you balance these demands with raising children? To address this first issue, we will have our 2 first of panelists. First, Professor Virginia Petre, who is lecturer and researchers in the Faculty of Energy Engineering at the University Polytechnica of Bucharest. She has been involved in several European projects, such as the project Caliper, addressing gender equality issues in STEM. So she knows a lot about this. Also, through her involvement in European projects on the topic of gender equality. And then we have Professor Christina Laszlo, Professor of Physical Chemistry at Budapest University of Technology and Economics, and a member of the panel of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, in charge of reviewing the proposals of scientists with small kids since 2018. We will have Virginia and Christina to first address this issue of mobility and how to balance all this complexity of research, careers, and having kids from particularly this point of view of stabilizing a career and mobility. Who'd like to go first? Virginia? Okay.
Thank you. It should be, I think I already saw, yes. Thank you, Ines. So it's good like this, okay? Okay, so yes, I'm a researcher and a teacher and a mother. It all started in high school when I kind of decided that I wanted to do science. We are two sisters, both of us did science. So it was not actually something natural for a girl to do, but I didn't want to do something else. So imagine my surprise when I went to faculty, and in my first year, we were 3 girls among 30 boys. I was shocked. It was not nice. I was feeling a lot of pressure, and I was feeling that I always have to prove myself, that I need to always show teachers that I belong there. And in my second year of school, I decided to accept the double diploma program in France. And I was accepted, and we were 8 on national level, 7 boys and 1 girl. The girl was me. And what I have to mention is the first one to finish the double diploma program, it was me, among all of us. I left to France just before my birthday. We arrived there, and I was expecting something different, something, I don't know. I was expecting to see more girls. I didn't see them. We were 30 among 130 boys. And even if I didn't want to feel different or a girl, imagine that I finished all my studies wearing only boys' clothes and being very boyish, just because this is how I felt. And just to give you an example, I'm not going to mention the faculty nor the country, but I'm just going to give you an example. We were in class, and I was behind with one of my colleagues, girl colleague, and the teacher asked a question about potential energy, and nobody knew the answer. And I just, very shy, tell the answer just from behind the circle. And the teacher just asked, who was that? Who? Do you know the answer? It was something like, okay, good. Okay, boys. It was a girl who gave the answer. Shame on you. So even if I didn't want to feel the pressure, I did feel it. And it's not comfortable to grow like this. It's not comfortable to find your way like this. Imagine that now, after a decade, I still feel like during my studies, I lost some of my femininity because I had to be like a boy, which is, it's not something that I wish for the young girls now, because you have the right to do science. The brain, from genetical points of view, is the same. So I don't see this. From the point of view of mobility, since I'm a mother now, it's difficult. Imagine that today, my kid is at home, and it's not with his father because he had to leave the country, but with the nanny and my mother. So if I don't have a nanny, or if my mother is not available, I cannot go. I cannot attend conferences. I cannot go anywhere. So it's a barrier for me as a researcher. Coming back from the maternity leave to school, it was like a huge gap that I felt. In Romania, you are allowed to stay at home 2 years, which is nice from a mother's point of view, but it's not nice from a scientist's point of view. I felt it like a huge gap, and when I came back, I felt exhausted because I had to run faster than the others just to be able to write a paper, get back in the project, getting used to teaching again. It was not, no, it was not easy, and it's still not easy. I'm back. It's a year now. I decided to stay at home only 1 year. Imagine if I stayed 2. So I stayed 1 year, and it was okay for me to come back just because I had a nanny and I had the possibility to have a nanny, because otherwise it would have been impossible. So now that I'm back, let me tell you a reality. Past year, 2022, the first year I came back, I have no paper, no conference, and no project written. Yes, I'm involved in several projects because I ran faster than the others, but it's not a comfortable situation. We are doing evaluations now. We are in the process of evaluating at school. And I had to declare last week that I have no research paper for last year, which is not comfortable. You're not feeling okay. It's something that I should have not been living after staying at home with my kid. And all of this, just all of this, feeling guilty all the time. Because yes, we do feel guilty all the time because you're not home enough time, you're not cooking for your kid as many meals as you should, you're not going to kindergarten with him, and all of this feeling guilty. So yes, it's kind of tough. It's consuming, and it makes me and I think all the mother, it makes them write less, produce less, focus less, because you cannot focus if your kid is sick, even though you have your nanny or your mother or the father of the kid staying with you. So no, thank you, Ines.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have seen that many of the issues that Virginia has mentioned are they are studied. I mean, there's a lot of scientific research that shows, for instance, the imposter syndrome that you had, how you had to acculturate to look like a man, to feel like a man, to be able to survive in a male environment. I also felt that when I was your age. Twice the effort to receive maybe half of recognition, the horizontal segregation in our fields, and then the guilt and all these psychological effects. But listening it from a first-person testimony is so important to listen to the voices. Now we are going to have a different approach to the same issues, and I would like to ask Christina, as an active member of the mentor group at BME, supporting young mothers returning from maternity leave. What is the reality of these mother researchers, and what about father researchers? We have seen how very long maternal leaves are not good for women researchers. We know that, these secondary effects, and how to balance that. We also know that when leaves for men are not often used to support the kids or the women, but to increase their research productivity. There's also empirical evidence on that. So there's side effects on both sides of the equation of parental leave, I'm afraid. So Christina, please, you have your 5 minutes to respond. They are telling me that we're a bit late. So we're going to ask the panelists to have 5 minutes, and then we will have time for further discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. So our university recognized the problem. Okay. So the university recognized the problem, that how difficult it is to return for young mothers and occasionally for young fathers. But the reality is that only women signed up for this project, because in my country, mainly the mothers go for maternity leave. So, and the university set up a fellowship for young mothers who decided to return to science. and to return to the school to full profession again. And so this is a 1-year project which supports them also financially. So that's a fellowship. And they have a personal coach whom they selected. The coach might be either a male or a female colleague of them who is already more advanced, more senior, and went through similar experiences. And we can convince these young people that they are not alone. So that's everybody had, or most of us had similar problems. And this is like a more or less regular meeting with them. And at the meantime, they are also in a way obliged to return to science. So for example, during these 1 year, they have to write 2 papers. So they have to have the schedule, and the mentors have to take care of their progress in writing these papers. And I think that as you said, that it's impossible that once you decided that you wanted to become a scientist, you will be never a full mother, because half of part of it, not necessarily half, but part of your mind is always at your profession. And when you are at your profession, part of your mind is with your children. So this is a very, very deliberate, I would say, dynamic equilibrium. I'm a physical chemist, so I cannot avoid that. And sometimes there are problems that you have to be ready always for unexpected. You have a nice daily schedule, but your kid gets sick, and then that particular support is also, and the financial support is to have them to get a nanny, because not everybody can afford that. And we also still have to depend on the family. So here we generally discuss the problem of female scientists as if they were like single ones in just hanging in the world. It's not the case. They have colleagues, they have friends, they have families, and these young women or even men couldn't survive without the support and the help of their family and husband or partner, or however you call that.
Thank you very much, Christina. Yeah, we see how complex it is, and what's also the psychological toll, and how this balance, internal balance, really makes it, it's there, and we have to recognize that it's there, and what are the implications for that, and what can be done institutionally and from a policy point of view. So with this, we're moving to our next issue, which very much links to this last issues, which is what are the implications of what can be done institutionally? Because does maternity really penalize women when it comes to advancing in a research career? When we were preparing this panel, Professor Özgür from II in Istanbul, who was supposed to participate in this particular section of the panel, he shared with us what were the regulations in Turkey regarding parental leaves for men and for women. And there's a big difference between men and women, as in most countries, 16 weeks for the mother, 8 before and 8 after giving birth, and only 5 days for the father. So he was saying that during this time, five days that the fathers have, they can just help a little bit with helping the mother and the child back home and doing some paperwork, but not much more than that. So it's really nothing of the work that has to be done that can be done by the father at the moment of getting a newborn baby home. So he said that I wish paid leaves were equal so that I could have helped the mother and balanced my family life and work together. Those were the words of Professor Özgür. And here in Spain, we have now by law equal parental leave. Let's see what are the impacts of that. It's still too early to evaluate the impact of that, generally in the workforce and particularly in research environments. But with this testimony in mind, I would like to reformulate the question to our next panelist. Is it maternity that is penalizing women, or is it the laws, the regulations, and the institutional contexts, including maternity and paternity leaves, what penalize women when they become mothers? And to respond to this issue, I would like to invite Adeline Favier, who is head of human resources at Paris Sciences et Lettres. And she's a French civil servant with very extensive experience in different administrations and environments out in the South Pacific, in the Nouvelle-Calédonie, which is what I can see here, and the University of French Polynesia and the Civil Service Training Authority of French Polynesia. So Adeline, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we shared different thoughts yesterday, and I wanted to emphasize the difference also in France between men and women. We also have 16 weeks for women, so it's 6 before and 10 after the birth. And men, it's now 28 days calendar, so a month outside of the 3 days regarding the birth. So that's a very, very big difference. And the impact is very important after that, implication that a mother has. Also, a very interesting fact in France, actually, 100% of women take their maternity leave, right? It's not really an option. You're a woman, you're pregnant, yes, you're going to take it. It's not really something you think about. While for men, it's not 100% in France. It's 70% now. And it has increased a lot. And I hope it will increase to 100% because of parenting is a shared experience. And we know it's hard for fathers to go back to work while they have a baby crying all night and their mother is tired. So I think we should think, and it's great to talk about it today at an EELISA level, think about the social responsibility as of the employers of all our university and schools. We have a responsibility regarding the time we give to fathers to be involved in family life. And we are also responsible of the impact that it has when they're not involved. So I think the social impact of fathers not being there is really huge. Today, taking the bus coming here, I saw something in the little screen they have in the bus, and they were talking about depresión postparto, the postpartum depression. I thought it was very interesting fact. And they were saying 20% of women, it was Spanish information, 20% of women have the syndrome of postpartum depression. So why is that? How do we 20%? It's very important. And we're talking about depression. It's not really something that's easy to work on after go back to work when you're having a depression. So I think this number, also thinking about the 70% of men and men not being involved at the right level, should really strike us and like a slap in the face and saying, okay, what do we do now to make it equal? I find the coaching idea really great. It's wonderful to be able to work with the women and help them publish and go back to work. I find it very interesting. And I believe at European level, we can really help each other with good practices like that. So yeah, that was my input. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Adeline. Thank you so much. So let's now continue and explore what are the possibilities, what can universities do? Because many measures to support family reconciliation and work-life balance are taken by national or regional governments. Some support comes also from the European Commission as well. But what can universities do to help reconcile so that women do not have to suffer this penalty of when they want, and it's an absolute right to be mothers and also have a research career that does not increase barriers needless. So to answer this question, I would like to introduce Magda Lutai, who is head of the Office for Gender and Diversity at the Friedrich Alexander University, which is the central institution for the conceptualization and implementation of gender equality and diversity strategy in her university. And Julien Becker, who is Deputy General Secretary at the École Nationale de Pont-et-Chaussée in Paris. And he's in charge of professional gender equality with over 20 years of experience in public administration among several Île-de-France prefecture, the local organizations within the region of Paris, and in position with social values and strong societal impact. So first question for Magda. Can you share your experience and the strategies followed at the FAO Office of Equality and Diversity?
Yes, thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share our measures and efforts we are being undertaken at the FAU in order to reconcile. It's about study, work, and family obligations. As you said before, we're the Office of Equality and Diversity, but we have an extra unit. It's called the Family Service at FAU, who is in charge of all these different measures, and there are strong ties between the two units. What I would like to say, just to see the big picture, quite makes me sad always when I hear female researchers sharing their experiences and telling me, oh, I'm having a child, now it's a problem. No, it's not a problem, that's life. And I think as a modern employer, they have to face realities and the need to meet the needs of the young generation and what young researchers ask for. I think this picture of a scientist or a male scientist, let's face it, who is stuck 24/7 in his lab or office, I think this is no longer the picture we should have from a scientist or a researcher. There must be a balance. There must be the working life. Of course, there are always peaks. You spend your evenings in the office, on your weekends, so on, and there are deadlines. But this shouldn't be the daily life of a researcher. So I think we have to change the picture, the working environment, making it more sustainable, more attractive to be to remain in academia, to choose this is my career path as a researcher, and just to make it more sustainable. And the efforts we are undertaking, let's start. Of course, we have the option of home office, remote working for the staff and the researchers. We have flexible working hours, which is good, I think. There is the possibility also in Germany, of course, you have to go on maternal leave. It's 6 weeks before giving birth and 8 weeks after. And what FAU also does, it's part of the target agreements between the faculties and the university board. There's the opportunity to hire a person to just bridge this personal bottleneck, you know, in teaching and research these 3-4 months. So I think this is really also a good opportunity, especially for women also who work at the lab. It assures that the research can go on and the data can be collected. They're entitled to hire a technician or technical support or a student assistant as well. So this is especially good in the field of STEM. To 6 semesters, but they are allowed to take exams, but the semester count will stop until 6 years, up to 6 semesters. Then we have scholarships for female pregnant students. They will be, they can get a certain amount of money up to 12 months just to assure a bit of stability. Of course, the demand is much higher than the financial means we have, but this is, I think, also a good option. Or we offer at FAU childcare spaces. They're reserved for students as well. That means crèche for the age of 1 to 3 years, and kindergarten places. This is brand new. What we offer else? Yes, holiday care, childcare for all Bavarian holidays except of Christmas. So it's a full day. So this is also a relief for parents for school holidays. I mean, especially in the summer, it's 6 weeks. So this reduces the stress. We have, yes, of course, babysitting services. We can imagine emergency childcare. We can offer childcare during conferences or working meetings. We also signed a code of conduct, family-friendly university. That means working meetings should take place from 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock, because most of the kindergartens close at between 4 or 5 o'clock. Now, of course, during the pandemic, we did all the new experience meeting via Zoom. So this is something which we will keep and extend, of course. So this is, we learned in the pandemic, it works. And yes, there are many other things. I mean, I don't want to get stuck in the details. Maybe, I don't know if it's special to Germany. Parents are entitled to parental leave. So this is a program, you can leave up to 3 years per child and per parent for the mother and the father. And in this time, you get 76% of your salary, and the maximum is 1,800 euros from the German government. So just that you take care for your child yourself. And you can decide whether you want to do it in part-time or full-time. So you have the choice. You have to take this parental leave until the age of 8 years of the child. And then also the Bavarian state offers a variety of child allowance, and you can get monthly 200 euros, and there's family allowance on top. So this is, if you just want to take into account the financial aspect, I mean, this is important as well if you have children. But it's the overall strategy at FAU is this cultural change, changing the attitude, changing the mindset, that you're not put apart if you have a child and say, okay, now you're out of the game, out of the project. No. And I think this is very important because we are in the era of gender equality. We are very much committed to the SDG 5 Sustainable Development Goals. It's about gender equality. And so I hope we're a good example for universities, many others to follow.
It's
yes,
a lot of things.
Yes,
Yeah, thank
indeed.
you so much, Magda. You know, well, we all know, you know that Germany is the country that has the most wide array of measures to support gender of an economic nature. Particularly, it's a rich country. They have the resources that other countries probably don't have, but they also do have this way of supporting gender equality through supporting families, which is bigger than in other countries in which gender equality is not so much through addressing maternity issues. This is very particular from Germany, and we have just seen it, such a big array of different measures with very significant economic implications as well. Yes. Thank you so much, Magda. It really gives lots of suggestions and ideas.
I didn't mention everything.
I know you didn't. I know. And how there's this combination of the federal, the regional, the state, the Länder, and also the universities. Yes. So it's many also different sources of help and support and measures that complement each other. Yes. So, but let's now listen to the French experience. And for this, we have Julien Becker. So my question for you would be, for this past year, you have become a referent at the École Nationale des Ponts et Chaussées. for employees for carrying out numerous actions to implement the gender equality plan. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Thank you. So I'm Deputy Secretary General for 1 year at École des Ponts, and I've been interested in topics of gender equality for about 10 years. And it was not a surprise for me to see that in the world of researcher, the situation is the same as the entire society. I was expected that, but as I realized it was a fact. So as the different measures we took to implement the gender equality in École des Ponts, first we have to collect data to see if there is to show that there is inequality, and in fact there is a gap between salary between men and women because the glass ceiling effect. It's the same in École des Ponts as in every works in the society. So we see that men earn a bit more than women because they are mainly working in works that are more well paid than for women. I'm quite sorry, my English is not very fluent. So, okay, very good. Thank you. It's the first time for me to speak in English like that. So once this is pointed, it is more, it's easier to say that it's important to take measures to fight against this point. At École nationale des Ponts et Chaussées, last year, we focused our action against the gender-based violence, which is a part of gender equality. We make contracts with different associations to allow victims of gender-based violence to make un signalement, a report, so they can be helped by those associations. We made it easier by different associations and make a platform. So this was one of our main action the last year, but we also more focused on this today's topic. We made training for managers and for the employees to emphasize the importance of balanced the work and the balance. Work-life balance. Yes, the importance of work-life balance. Also, information around family leave and the importance for men and women to take their family leave, not only the women, because as it was said, it's mostly women who take family leave. And also we saw a difference for the remote working between men and women. Mostly was about 70 or 80% of women do a remote working, and it's not the same for the men. So we try to balance it between men and women. And we have, that's the most important action we take on this plan.
Thank you so much, Julien. You have mentioned two new things that we hadn't been listening before, which is the issue of gender violence. That's an issue that it's important that the European Commission has recognized only very recently. In the first 15 or 20 years of European Commission policies on gender equality in STEM, gender violence was totally absent. But in the last few years, it has come quite strongly into the picture as a zero tolerance thing, and something that has we need to know that it happens and that it cannot be tolerated. So that's a very important thing, and thank you for mentioning it, even if it runs in parallel to our topic today, but it's very important. And then another issue that also comes new from your participation, is the issue of remote work and how it impacts very differently men and women, and how this also, it's a new thing that has really come up very strongly after the pandemic, and some of it is going to stay. So how this materializes, I think is an area of policy that has to be taken actively and seriously into consideration. So thank you very much. So I would like to now, we have now a few minutes. Maybe you tell me if it's 15 minutes. Are we on track? Okay, so we have 15 minutes now for a wider discussion between our panelists, and I have a few questions to raise to you. The first one is, because we have been working on this for quite a few years now, and there's a lot of experience that has been accumulated in Europe through a lot of it sponsored by European Commission's projects. And many of you have experience on that previous to the ELISA project. And also you have experience in your own countries along the time. So my first question, and please, any of you feel free to respond to it. What has been the evolution of the situation regarding parenthood and motherhood in STEM for the last 20 years? What do you think are the main evolution, the main new topics to have come, things that might have been solved or not? What would you like to say about the evolution in these past 20 years? Who would like to give a response to this first issue? Maybe Christina or?
The general problem is that being in STEM, independently of your gender, it's a tough job. And that's why my understanding is from my previous experience when I was still in university administration, that the number of students signing up for this kind of job, I mean, we are practical and engineering school, that's very low. So we try to do all the efforts to attract children already as young as they're, 6, 7 years old. And so we have special events for them, like Santa Claus physics, and they can really see physical experiments on site and in the classroom. And also we organize Children University in June. That's for 2 categories, for the undergrads in elementary school and above 10. And also there is I would say that there is a selection but we also try to be sure that there are not only boys, but also girls among them, just to attract their excuse me, their mind and their ambitions to join STEM. And I'm not in informatics, but my colleagues who work in informatics, they say that having a girl, a woman in the group of informatics, that gives an extra turn or extra swirl to the work or to the efficiency, because even if we accept or not, we have a different mindset, and it's not utilized fully, I'm sure. So that also shows that attracting more women to STEM would be really advantageous.
Thank you. Certainly the issue of reducing horizontal segregation by increasing the vocation of little girls is a very important issue that has to be part of the picture, because having a critical mass of women is very important to have more women at the top. And so to increase the critical mass and have more women. And we also, as Christina said, we have this evidence that having women increases the diversity of viewpoints, and it increases the richness of the approaches to technology and research. So it's a plus because it's a different mindset that comes into how you do science and technology. Thank you very much. I have another question for our panelists. So from your perspective, what is happening and not happening in an institutional level? For instance, family support measures implemented by the university, and what is working and what is not working. So what's happening and what's not happening, what is working, what is not working, both from an institutional and a legislative perspective. Of course, there's a wide variety among countries, certainly, but who'd like to respond to some of these issues? What's happening, what's not happening, what's working, what's not working, from institutional and legislative viewpoints. Magda? Or
As from PSL, talking about institutional point of view and HR policies and management policies, I think we're implementing now good practices regarding family issues, maternity, as for example, making it systematic to have an interview before maternity leave. Now we do that and it's working a lot better. Also after maternity leave, implementing a mandatory interview to talk about that. And before, it's more about the workload. Is somebody going to replace me? Who's going to do my job? Is a student or somebody going to help me with my study going on in the lab? If I'm in STEM, it's very important, especially in STEM. So I think that is changing. I think it's not changing maybe fast enough. And I think maybe we should give you the boost. It's just like yesterday we shared key figures about women in science and STEM in our different institutions. And I was wondering if today, what would Virginia, what would it be today? It would be like, instead of 3 girls, it would be 5. Instead of 30, it would be 35. Okay. So it's changing, but not really fast enough.
Not
so I
fast
think,
enough.
yeah,
No, it's never fast enough.
No.
It's quite slow. But I think Magda would like to say something.
Yes, I totally agree. Does it work, the micro? Yes. Okay. I totally agree what you said. And also what I said before. I think we have to change the structures and the system. And one problem in academia, and what I learned in all countries, it's the same. There are hardly any permanent positions. And in this highly competitive field, you know, you have to do your publications, attend conferences, traveling, relocating every 3-4 years, keeping up with all the publications would come up, networking with your community, saving or applying for third-party funding. And then, I mean, this is stressful. This is stressing you out. I think men and women, it's for both, I think. Okay, we're talking about women. And this system will lead you nowhere. It leads you into burnout, mental stress, and less of productivity. I think this is not a good basis for being a successful researcher on the long run. So I think the system has to change. There must be a perspective for researchers, female researchers, because you have a really short time, especially as a woman. If you say, okay, I want to have a family and I want to succeed in research, there are many qualification levels. You have to do your PhD. In Germany, then you're the postdoc. If you want to become a professor, there's still the habilitation, which we have, so another qualification. Then you have to apply. What we already changed a bit is gender awareness in our appointment policies regarding mothers. So we see their age, and we call it academic age. So for each child you have 2 years, which are given to you. in terms of age and academic age, if you have to apply for a professorship or so on. And also this takes into account if you don't have that many publications or projects or third-party funding. So I think this is important for women. And it proved to be a good way, this gender awareness and sensitization in appointment procedures.
Thank you, Magda. I think you've raised a very important issue, which is the structure of the career that has been designed for someone who is 100 or 150%, because in addition to not having other responsibilities, this person has another person to support him. And that's not the case anymore. Certainly it's not the case for women. And it's like little by little, it's not the case for some men, for more and more men, maybe, hopefully.
And I think all these measures also have positive effects on men as well.
Yes.
I mean, it's because we're raising our voices for women, it doesn't mean we're
Yes.
against men. No, not at all.
Yes.
Men are so important and
Yes,
we need them
yes.
as sparring partners.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe this is challenging in some way, the pyramidal structure and hierarchical structure of academic careers. Maybe, who knows? I would like to, maybe Julien would like to say something about this.
Yes, in a larger field in French society, what has worked for the last decades is to make mandatory for the elections to have the same number of men and women as candidates and as elected. That works when it was implemented in the 90s. Lots of people say it's nonsense, but that works. It has bad effect, but mainly that works. I don't know if it could be implemented in the research field, but it is also implemented in the high administration. On the governing board, you have to be this. You have to have parity, yes, between men and women. And maybe a law enforcement could make change things. But I don't know, in research fields, it's maybe more difficult.
Quite a bit of discussion on how quotas, those are quotas by different names, but quotas come in very different shapes and sizes, and they can be designed in so many different ways. And the challenge, I think, in our field is that they cannot conflict with merit and qualifications. It's not as in politics. In politics, the criteria is more, it's an issue of democracy. And so it's difficult to defend quotas in academia, but I'm sure that some ways of designing them can be thought out. And but it's a very difficult. That's my impression on this. As you raised, I think it's a quite difficult balance to strike, so that a quota system in research and academia wouldn't be considered illegal in Europe. But the Germans, you have done something regarding that for the appointments of professors, and also in Sweden there were some attempts a few years ago that were declared illegal. But it's an issue of design, of how they are designed, and so difficult, but probably not impossible. Something to think about, I think. Thank you so much. So Virginia, I would like to say something.
Yes, I wanted to answer to Adeline about what changed exactly in class. So I started saying that we were 3 girls in first year. Now I'm teaching, and I'm teaching heat transfer. I'm not dealing with first year students, but I'm dealing with second year students, and normally they are less than in first year. So the number should be smaller than 3, let's say, for the girls. But let me say that even this semester, for example, I had classes with more than half girls, which is very, very nice. So yes, I can tell you that things have changed. I don't know if for the past 20 years, but I would rather say that for the past 5 years, it changed a lot. And it's very nice to teach thermodynamics in a class with almost, they are not only girls, but half of them are girls. That means they have courage to do science, which shows that things have changed. So I would say that fast in the past 5 years, okay, and maybe things will change more with mothers, let's say, in the next 5 years. Okay. Thank you.
I'm also very positive, generally speaking. So I have seen a big change in these past years. Since I first started working on this, which was about 25 years ago, I certainly have seen it in my personal life. Also in the research that has been produced, in the way that the topic is addressed in universities, in the way that universities do have gender equality plans, how it is now a normal thing that we discuss about, that it's assumed by the top management of universities and governments and so on. So the change is enormous. Let's see where it leads us in terms of real equality, and how much horizontal segregation will remain in our particularly male-dominated fields. But certainly there is improvement, and the numbers are proving it also the numbers. So I have one last question before we pass on to the public and the audience online. So please, those of you online, be aware that in a couple of minutes you will be able to raise your questions. So if you have some questions, please start writing, and in a couple of minutes we will give the floor to those online and those in the room. And before that, I'm going to raise the last issue I have for the panel, which is we have been talking in general about motherhood in general, but there are certain individuals and certain families that are particularly vulnerable or have particular difficulties. And among those, I would say the first group would be single mothers who don't have the possibility of having a partner to support parenthood. Then women coming from low income social strata, who have little or no additional personal economic resources to support, or who have no relatives who could support in any way. Also women who might be immigrant women or refugee women in academia, that we are seeing more and more, unfortunately. So what do you see that can be done to support these particularly vulnerable or women, research women who have specific needs? I mean, vulnerability is not a word that I really like, because it's not the women part vulnerable, it's the situation in which they are that is vulnerable. So it's a word that we need to use more carefully, because women are not vulnerable. Sometimes, yes, but it's not the right way to approach the issue. It's situation of vulnerability or difficulty or economic stress or lack of family support, or lack of a partner that can help raise the kid. So from your point of view, what measures could be implemented to mitigate those specific situations? Would like to address this issue.
I could try to answer. So from my point of view, for a woman, for a mother in such a situation, let's take a single mother. Now, at this moment, I'm not talking about the other countries, I'm just talking about Romania, for example. I think it's impossible for her to work and have a baby in the same time in such a situation. I mean, let's take a young researcher who is just at the beginning, and she's a single mom with no help from the family. It's impossible to go back to work, or even to I don't know, to find help after we are allowed to stay at home 2 years. So yes, we have a good child allowance for the 2 years. If you worked before, if you didn't, it's not okay. You cannot do it. You have it at all. You don't have it at all. So you need to go back to work. So now in Romania, we have no institution, nothing from the state to help you find a nanny. For example, I know that in France, you have, I'm not sure how it's called. It's an institution where you can go and you can have a nanny with contract, you can choose it with CV and everything. And even if you don't afford it, you go back to work and the state is reimbursing you 80% of the, I'm not sure about the number, but I think it's giving you almost all the money back that you pay on the nanny, which I find it a good solution for mothers in such a situation, for example. In our country for now, we have nothing like this, and I think it's useful. I think it should be a solution for single mothers, for example, because me, when I had my child, 4 months after I gave birth, I had to pass the lecturer job, and it was impossible to attend the job competition if it wasn't for my husband, who took the paternity leave in my place. And I went back to work for the next 6 months, and then I took the maternity leave, and he went back to work. We kind of share it, the family leave, so that I can take the job. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able, and I would have to wait for about 3, 4, maybe 5 years just to be a lecturer. So I think, yes, we lack a lot of situations for helping mothers in difficult situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Anybody else would like to address this issue?
Yes, I think about, so the support system is general. For me, like Magda said, it's systemic. The problem is systemic, and regarding academic, it is also the case for the whole, I mean, women working in general and fathers working also. I think the support system around parenting should be emphasized. As you mentioned, I work in the Pacific, and in the Pacific, the cultural area is very different, and the support system, family support system, is very, very important. So you are helped by your whole family, and it's not just you and your partner taking care of the baby. Here in Europe, we're in a different situation, and I think at a European level and national level, the support system for me is key to be able to either go back to work, apply for a new position, apply for a position that's an opportunity, a career opportunity. It's not possible outside of a strong support system regarding taking care of your kid and financial allowance.
Magda?
Just a brief comment. I mean, of course, in Germany, we're quite privileged. The German welfare state is well known. So in terms of financial aid, there are plenty of measures from the government as well as the Bavarian state. Childcare benefits, it's not linked to previous employment. You can get it if you're employed or not, per child. And we have some on-top measures, financial aid in Bavaria as well. At our university, what we now offer are sort of package for women who've been on parental leave or who left the system and want to re-enter it. So we offer coachings, one-on-one mentoring, part-time positions. You can hire a student assistant, so you can slowly enter the research system again. And what I always like is the idea of empowering women. So we offer some workshops and seminars. We can address individual issues, also not in the group, but one-on-one. Such as reconciling family duties and work, and how you organize yourself and your day, and how you can lead a team also as a mother, that you're not put aside. If nobody has a child in a family, you're the only one. So I think these are important measures as well. Women, female researchers, mothers, they must be visible in the system. And I think we're in a good way. I mean, there's plenty of things to be done, of course, But I always like to focus on the positive things we already achieved. And I always like to encourage women to build their own networks as well. I think this is really, really important. Doesn't sound like a new idea, but still women are lacking networks. That's what I always, or many times I think, oh, it would be good if we stick together, exchange ideas, best practices, and it's a sort of not only top down, bottom up.
That's very important. Totally agree. Bottom up and networks are so important. Would you like Julien to say something about this topic? Okay, so then we now have around 15 minutes for questions from the audience, either in person or online, and then we will have a wrap-up section with all the panelists, 2 minutes per person, to say a few words, wrap up the ideas, issues for looking forward, or important things to look back. So, sorry. Sorry, I don't know if you have heard me. I think the mic went off. So we're giving the floor, and then we will have 2 minutes per panelist for a wrap up. Isabel, are you going to read the questions? Do you have questions from the floor, from the audience online?
Yes. We have some comments from the audience. One coming from an anonymous participant, and another one, several comments from one of our panelists from the video, Evangelia Tormusi. And I'm going to read the comment from this participant, and then another comment from Evangelia, because I think they go together. And he said, this person says, we have been asking for obligatory equal paternity leave for the last 30 years. This is obviously a way to avoid the law penalizing women for motherhood. And he says, I think it is incredible that we are still having to discuss this as if it was a new idea. And Evangelia says, the importance of an obligatory paternal leave is not just that gives men the opportunity to experience parenthood and practice their role as fathers. It is also that a potential employer who has to hire someone in a research grant will not have any more reason to take gender into account. So this was the question of compulsory paternal leave. Paternal leave. Maybe the.
I totally agree. I think that paternity leave should be compulsory, mandatory, but in the fact, it's difficult, I think, to oblige the father to take their paternity leave. And moreover, I think that it's also sometimes not well seen to take the whole paternity leave. I think things are changing, but in some fields, it's not well known. And moreover, to take parental leave, it's much more difficult for a father than for a mother. In all fields of the society, but yes, I agree.
Any other comment on this issue? Well, these measures do have unintended effects, and it's still unclear how they are taken in practice and what's the impact in practice, and probably. As Julien said, in many areas, still it's not well seen that men to take them. Or sometimes there's also evidence that when they take them, it's their scientific productivity increases, which is not the use the leave was intended for, certainly, but the opposite. So it's still something that, and also paternal leaves are not really totally, it's not possible totally to match them with the needs of babies and small kids. which are take place over a longer period of time and not only during the time of the paternal leave, and then still this is gendered. So the issue is quite complex in how the mandatory paternal leaves can really impact, as of yet at least. So it's a very complex issue, and that has strong cultural and environmental and contextual issues that need to be taken into account in order to ensure that the results are those intended and that they are taking the most of it. So I would like to ask now the floor here for the audience in the room, if any of you, please, there's one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is Nacho. I'm associate professor, but I'm also associate vice rector for EELISA. So I'm one of the people that are working on this project. First of all, it's a great pleasure to participate in this debate with this audience, and I think you have pointed out very interesting points. I must be grateful, and I promise that if I took the floor, I have to be thankful, especially with the mother of my kids, because I'm the father of 3 kids. And I must recognize that now with the third, I'm taking a lot of the responsibility, but with the first and the second, she was who took more responsibility, and of course, I'm very grateful to her. Second, to my parents-in-law, because if it not were because of them, I will not have 3 kids, that's sure. They are helping a lot us. And also my partners and vice rector and the people at UPM, because during my parental leave, I still have to do some things, but it was because I decided to, and I have never been pushed to do so. But what I wanted to point out is the importance of the visibility of the fathers that are taking care of the kids. Because I took the parental leave at a crucial moment of the Alliance because we were preparing the renovation of the Alliance. So I could stop my duties as a professor and my duties as a researcher. But as one of the people thinking on EELISA, I couldn't. And sometimes I came with my daughter to some meetings. And I think you appreciate that picture because it's unusual. And I will tell something that a very short story, but there were elections for the board of this school, and I ran for these elections. And I came with my daughter to vote myself, and I won by one vote, my vote. And it was very shocking when my students show me appear with a baby. But I thought that if I were a female professor, maybe I would not have done this. And if I were a female person of the teams working on EELISA, maybe I would have hidden my kids sometimes. Because, so this is what I wanted to put out. I think that it is important. I appreciate that in this country we have 16 weeks of paternity leave, also the parents, the fathers, mandatory. But it's important that we do take care of our kids, but we also give visibility to this, because otherwise, since I think this will not change. That's what I wanted to point out. Thank you.
Thank you, because humans, we are imitating animals. we learn by imitation. It's so important to have this kind of role modeling attitude. And now it's for men to take up this role modeling too. I mean, we need women role models, but we also need men who do things that are not under what is expected conventionally. So thank you so much for your testimony. And that's one of the impacts of a project like this, that because you have, it's one of the objectives of the project, of the EELISA project. And then because there are men who are part of the project who are taking it seriously also at a personal level, and they are showing it publicly. It's so important. So it's one of the very important impacts of this kind of project. Would you like any reaction to this last intervention from our panelists? Okay, so anybody else from the room?
Hello, my congratulations for this initiative because it's really great. And my name is Jose Ignacio Pastor. I'm full professor here in this school. And I would like to introduce an additional point of view that usually is not present in this kind of debates. Is what happens when you have a strongly handicapped kid, because you have to devote to it a lot of time, not during a short period of time, 10 years, 20 years. It is for life, for all your life. This is my case. And this is changing the life of the family because everything is different, and it's changing also the life of the rest of the kids. And well, at the beginning, people said, "Oh, I can help you," but after a few years, everybody forgets it. How can we transform this? How can we help to this kind of families that in Spain, they don't have any kind of support usually, and the professional career of fathers, of parents, mother and father, in the case I'm very implicated with my son, it's changing absolutely, and it's impossible to compete with the rest of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for raising this point, and excuse me for not having mentioned it. It's when I mentioned the specificities of certain circumstances that may render this job particularly difficult for certain women and men too. I see that's, I will react first and then I will give the floor to our panelists. I would say that this is an issue of national policy. Of course, universities can help, but ensuring that that kids that have some sort of serious limitation of this kind, that this has to be addressed by national policy, and that governments that have a reasonable welfare state, functioning welfare state, this should be a priority, so that parents can reasonably work in addition to taking care of their kids, of the kid who has this particular situation. But I would like to ask our panelists if they want to mention something specific from their countries or their institutions that addresses this particular situation of. Do you have one?
Thank you. Yes, I agree totally about the support system, and it should be at national level. What exists in France is the gift of days, extra leave days that you can give as an individual, whoever you are, to parents who have kids with special needs. It's anonymous. You give it. You don't know specifically who is the person you're giving to, but the HR department deals with it and gives the person or the person with kids with special need days. So it's maybe started 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Can't remember. So that's a small thing, of course, 1 or 2 extra days, but sometimes it's 5 days. In France, we have in university, sometimes 45 to 50 days every year. So there's opportunity for individual to have extra days and not lose them and give them.
And you can also give extra days to a colleague which is ill, a long hill. You can give him your few days too. Yes.
That's very nice initiatives. Nice initiatives. Well, I think we have time for just one more question. Anybody would like from the room to have one more question? You have one online.
I have a comment. I would like to say to the online audience that we won't be able to take absolutely all comments and questions. I will take this. That I will be. Evangelia says that even only 2 years ago, a colleague mentioned that the ERC, the European Research Council, would not extend his grant to accommodate a postdoc's maternity leave. They only considered extensions in case of a parental leave of the principal investigator. Outrageous in its own right, but it highlights one more reason employers have to reject women candidates in academic positions. And there I would like to highlight, I think they have changed it now in Marie Curie, but it's our responsibility from all institutions that also in Marie Curie, what happened before was that all the burden was on the university and that the university had to extend contracts with own funds. And what I'm mentioning there is that the commission had been very much criticized for not providing the funds for these extensions for maternity leaves.
Thank you. Well, we are about to finish our panel, and the last round of interventions by our invited panelists, you will have a couple of minutes each for just to send a message, an idea, some wrap up, whatever you want to convey in 2 minutes. And should we start in the inverse order that we, maybe Julian, do you want to start?
Thank you. I think for me, the most important thing, and from myself, is to be aware as a man of this issue, because when you are a man, you are not confronted to these issues. Everything works, I could say. Everything is okay. So I think it could be a really good idea to make mandatory training for everyone in our institutions. So it won't work for everybody, but maybe a small percentage will realize it's important, and that's how things will change in our institution and after in the whole society.
Totally agree. Yeah, we need more discussions like this. I really enjoyed it a lot, sharing your experiences, all this storytelling. I think we need a public debate on this issue even more extensively. And I think this could lead to change, making women more visible. And I would like to add also fathers in terms of, these gender stereotypes, all family issues is a women thing. No, it's a family thing. And we need the fathers as well. So it's normal that a father brings his child to work. I think I like this idea. And yes, networking, speaking up, talking about the issues, diverse personal backgrounds. It's not only having a child, they're blended families, rainbow families, step families, all these individual personal situations to make them visible and integrate them in the working space.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like Julien said, I also believe in mandatory. I think it works. So I like mandatory measures, and I'm so voting for that. And my second thought would be also regarding the system, support system. How can our university be part of the support system? And small measure is good, but what kind of impact do we want? We talked about impact. Sophia talked about impact yesterday. I think about, we need to think about, the impact we want to have today. I'm very happy to be here today and to listen to every one of you. And yes, I believe we can really, we need to change. I don't want to say the world, I don't want to be too cheesy, but we need to change things, and we need to help each other and make the system, change the system, and definitely not the woman.
I just continue that I enjoyed this meeting very much, and I think that this discussion should go on. And on the other hand, I would have a message to the young mothers. About self-education. So they should get out of the social stereotypes. What Virginia mentioned about feeling permanently guilty, that kills your life. I think they have to undertake pioneering, even it's strange in the 21st century, that they should work on that themselves and also their neighborhood, that what they do, that's the right thing. They have the right to be a scientist, a teacher, a professor, and a mother at the same time. It's very difficult to find this balance, and it doesn't work without social support. But we still have to fight against those stereotypes.
Thank you, Virginia. So I want to pass a message as always. So my message would start with, so we are raising our kids, since they are very small, just like our parents, grandparents, and all the other generations before. We are telling girls to play with dolls and paintings and princesses and girls' toys. And we are telling boys, since they are very small, to play with trucks and Lego and building puzzles and STEM skills games. And we are raising everybody like this. And now we are addressing gender equality. Well, in my opinion, we cannot address gender equality if we don't fight these biases and stereotypes. We are building them. So if we want to address these problems now, this gender equality, we need to break them. Let's teach girls they can do science, and once they are in, let's nurture them. Let's support them to do so. Okay, so let's pass from awareness to transformation, because it's time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Virginia. And now I would like to give the floor to our colleagues from Turkey who are here, because Professor Göz was not able to come for reasons due to the situation back home with the earthquake. But we wouldn't like to finish this event without having our colleagues from Turkey address the audience and say whatever they would like.
Thank you for all. I am Hatice Ayataç. Maybe we meet yesterday. And I am also a mother, and I have 2 sons. And I also agree all colleagues' decisions, and also all colleagues saying in related with to be a mother. In our country, as you said, and also Özgür who just said that, in our country, to be a mother and then to be a father is not easy. It is limited according to us. And also in ITU, Istanbul Technical University, or to be an academician and to be a mother in together, it is not easy way, because firstly, I am just thinking about and taking notes when you are speaking. The difficulties is that maybe remembers that I showed the ratio of the to be a mother and the father in our faculties, in our universities. It is the less than the 30% in the academicians and also administrative bodies. So the peoples and the women's don't want to get a family, or don't want to get a children in our country because of these difficulties, as you said. Because to be an academicians and to be a researchers is not easy way. In my opinion, in my experience, I also have difficulties related with our university program, because the system is the same. To be a mother or not to be a mother, it is the same. And the education curricula and the system also give the same opinion and give the same limitations to you. So it could be like that. Maybe the family and mother and fathers, there could be some extra we can say, opportunities for all women and men together, because you need some extra efforts, as you said. And one of these, I also I feel that in especially before the 23 years, because my older son is the 23 years now, I feel that this is the very hard work for me, because he wants lots of things. He wants to be alone, and he wants to see me inside and with him. So the traffics and the other problems, you can go to, and you should go to the school, and you should go to the faculties, and there should be lots of works to you. And the other, especially this is the limitations of the other women, I can say, the other academicians and our authority on our system don't want to give any extra opportunities to you. This is the very big limitations for us. But now it's changed. And now I remember that I have only 45 days after my giving birth. This is the but now it is getting longer to 4 months. It's getting longer, and for the fathers, it's just have the 1 month, not the 1 week. 1 week. It is not too longer for the father. And now maybe we can say for the ITU and also Istanbul Technical University, we have some, as you said, that the creche and the school, special school, kindergarten. For our children, but it is not easy way to include this system, because there are lots of children and it is limited for the academicians. This is another critic stay. I can say lots of things. What do you think about? That's enough, I think. We have different things, and now the Women Studies Centers, Aylin Bayar and me and the other colleagues, we try to get awareness for all women and for all academicians, and also for all the mother academicians and the mother in science, give these opportunities and give these, maybe this awareness. It is not hard work to be a mother and this woman in science. We try to get this one. And also I agree that the other side, maybe I can say the short sentences related with these. The other side, this is a positive effect for the children. Maybe at the later time, there will be children in this round table, because maybe you can ask their feelings. And I show that for my children, they growing with me in the faculty. And now the one of these in our faculty is a student. So this is the good chance for them. And they learned them, as the other colleague says, that this is the good opportunity for them to see the mother in their research area. And most of times they listen me in the conference, and they said that I'm really proud of you. I know that it is not easy way to be a mother to us, but they said that you are really good. And then we learned that lots of things. And my older son says that I learned too much things. And he always says that I'm proud of my mother. I learned lots of things from coming to university. So this is the good chance. Maybe the later time, we will also get with the children of us, and then maybe they can say lots of things. Thank you, all of things, and then you're invite us.
Thank you so much. I really think that what you said about the kids is so important. We have to listen to them too. And they are part of the picture that practically they are never listened to, particularly regarding the issues we are discussing today. So it's really a very important thing that we also have to think from their point of view, from the point of view of kids. Thank you so much. So now let me say a few words to close this panel. thank you so much to all our great distinguished panelists and to the audience here and also online. And to the organizers, Isabel, all of you, yes. Thank you so much for all your work. And let me just say a few words summarizing the many things that have been discussed today, just to give you a flavor of the richness of the discussion. So we have heard how tough, how competitive it is, how difficult it is, and then how this is doubled up by having kids. How we have to combine top-down and bottom-up measures in national, regional, and university level, institutional level measures, how mandatory measures are absolutely necessary, how funding is also needed, that we like to speak up, to be listened to share, to build networks, platforms of women, to give visibility, that we need to have men on board, that having them also giving visibility and being role models to change the culture and break the more involved wearing is very needed. That we need support systems that allow to help each other. And some very interesting examples have been given of how specific measures can be devised to support each other on a more personal and specific level. But also that we need to change the system. It's the system that has to be changed. That this might have implications for more structural functioning of a system that is built on certain hierarchies that do not fit into the life cycle of women, because the time of having kids conflicts directly with the time of consolidating a career. Also that we need to have women self-educate themselves, particularly young women, so that these internal conflicts that lead to feelings of guilt are not there, and that this internal balancing of work responsibilities and work implications with the responsibilities of raising a family do not create needless internal psychological stresses. Also that it's very important in order to address horizontal segregation, that we work with little girls to reduce gender segregation in vocations for engineering and STEM areas, and to address stereotypes and biases that occur at this early stage. There are many researchers that show that vocations happen in early childhood. That's before 7. So it has to be addressed in the families and in primary schools. After that, it's too late. Secondary education is too late to increase vocations in STEM. So it's very important what you said. Those are some of the issues that I've taken note here. And I would like just to finish with these short words that remind us of the many different things that we have discussed today. And so now to finish, I'm going to tell those people who are online that you will be able to listen and to watch a video, which is a short biography of Elisa Leonida Zamfirescu, who is a Romanian engineer who gives her name to the EELISA Alliance, and who is an example of the kind of commitment and inspiration that women who have pioneered in this field can give us today for all the young women who are entering the field. So we have the video, and thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you.
EELISA, the European Engineering, Learning, Innovation and Science Alliance, is the alliance of 9 prestigious universities from 7 European countries, with the goal to define and implement a common model of European engineer that would respond to social challenges and combine smart technologies with the need for sustainable development. The Alliance is a strong promoter of democracy, diversity, inclusion, and last but definitely not least, gender equality. The very acronym for the Alliance, EELISA, is meant as a tribute and moral reparation to all women engineers in fond remembrance of Elisa Leonida Zamferescu as the epitome of the essential elements driving the Alliance. Since Elisa had a multicultural cross-border scientific background, made a significant contribution to engineering with her innovative methods for mineral analysis, and proved her strong determination and social commitment. Being a trailblazer is often a lot harder for a woman than it is for a man, especially in an era dominated by prejudice, like back in the days of Elisa Leonida Zamferescu, the Romanian who was to become the first female engineer in the history of Europe. Hers is a success story turned into a solid reason for national pride, a narrative to inspire whole generations of young people. Elisa Leonida Zamferescu was the first female engineer in Europe, but also the first woman who was denied access to the academic technical education in Romania, precisely because she was a woman. Back in an era dominated by bias, she chose to build a career in engineering, a field that was exclusively reserved to men. Her decision triggered animosity, but that only strengthened her determination to work hard and pursue her goal. More than anything else, the story of Elisa Leonida Zamferescu is the story of a woman who had to fight against the prejudice of her contemporaries. But it is also a success story, because at the end of the day, she made her dream come true. Elisa Leonida was born on the 10th of November in 1887 in Galați, a beautiful Romanian town on the bank of the Danube River. She attended elementary school in her native town, then high school at the Central School for Girls in Bucharest. She also took her final exams in the capital city with the prestigious Mihai Viteazul Science High School. One of her uncles was an engineer, and one of her brothers was the famous Dumitrie Leonida, founder of the Romanian School of Energy Engineering. But Elisa was determined to prove that women could be successful in the technical field as well. She applied to the former School of Bridges and Roads, later turned into the Polytechnic School of Bucharest, only to be faced with a blunt rejection. Such things were non-negotiable back then, when women could not pursue a career in engineering. It took a lot of effort, but she eventually managed to become a student of the Royal Technical Academy in Berlin. The dean of the academy was very reluctant to approve Elisa's application, her main argument being that the fundamental vocation of a woman was the 3 Ks: the kids, the kitchen, and the church. Elisa's life did not become easier once she was accepted by the academy, because at first both her fellow students and her professors were ignoring her in class. However, with her unrelenting determination and patience, she managed to turn the hostility into unanimous admiration during those university years. In 1912, she successfully graduated with a major in chemistry, thus becoming the first female engineer in the world. After graduation, the famous BASF company offered her a job as an engineer, but she declined and chose to return to Romania instead. It wasn't easy, but she eventually got a job as an engineer with the Geological Institute in Bucharest. Amidst the First World War, Elisa Leonida joined the Red Cross and ran several campaign hospitals, an effort for which she was highly decorated. In 1918, she eventually got married on the front line. Her husband was Constantin Zamferescu, the brother of the well-known Romanian writer Iuliu Zamferescu. During her career with the Geological Institute, Elisa led 12 laboratories and had a significant contribution to the discovery of new resources of coal, oil, natural gas, construction rocks, chromium, bauxite, and copper in Romania. Next to her work as an engineer, Elisa Leonarda Zamfarescu also found time to teach physics and chemistry at the Peter Mosch School for Girls, and also at the School of Electricians and Mechanics, headed by her own brother, Dimitri Leonida. She worked until the age of 75, when she retired in May 1963. Her success story remains a scientific legacy carried on to this day, under the auspices of ELISA, selected by the European Commission to be part of the European University Network. This is an iconic financing and acknowledgement program with a mission to create the fundamentals of a cooperation and sustainability-driven Europe.